Hi, everyone. I'm Jen. In honor of JW, our friend who supports us everywhere with that beautiful old-fashioned smiley face, I am going to share my story, which is related to kidney stones, since he's in the process of passing some now. I love you, and you don't get a sweet little baby out of birthing these stones, and I wish you well and peaceful, easy transitions. Okay, so years ago, before I divorced, so before 2001, so maybe year 2000, I passed kidney stones. And the first time I thought I was dying. And it was in the middle of the night. I was crawling around. I was moaning. I ended up waking up my husband. And, I couldn't help it. I needed to go to the hospital. So I got my neighbor to watch our children, who were young at the time, and he went to the car to take me to the hospital. It was awkward and painful to have to walk by myself to the car, to open the door, to put the seat back. I had to actually sit in the back seat eventually. Because I couldn't figure out how to contort my body. And meanwhile, I'm very aware of by my husband. I love you, David. It was a hard time for all of us. And not just that day, but specifically that day as well, I thought, I feel like I'm a single mom dealing with life. And that day I thought, I'm like a single mom going to the hospital. I might as well have, I don't know, gotten a taxi driver. He might have opened the door for me or something, or even asked me, are you okay? But anyhow, so we're at the hospital. They are ready. I had a few stones, and they put us, my husband and I, in a small room, and there were two technicians there and a machine, and I was under the machine, and they were watching the progress as it was going down, and definitely medicated at that time through IV. And then for those of you who may not know, I experience what I call unexplainables. Look, my little bitty hairs are sticking up. But I experience what I call unexplainables. Sometimes I hear, see things, know things, feel things, do things, whatever. I don't know how it works. I have nothing to sell. It just comes through me. So you don't really hear it, but you're aware. You just know of the name Ramona. So I thought, it happened a few times. So then I asked the people, the two technicians that were there, are either of you named Ramona? They're like, no. And then this part, I sound like a TV psychic, and I'm not a psychic. It just comes to me when it comes to me. I'm not like I can make things happen. Maybe yet, I don't know. But then I sound like the TV psychic. I'm like, is there anyone in your family that you know of named Ramona? And they're just looking at each other and me like, no. Mind you, I'm already all drugged up from the kidney stone, so I'm sure they're thinking, loop-de-loop girl, and my husband is just looking at me like, don't talk about this here. So, hey, when we married, I didn't believe in any of this either, so I get you. I totally get you, and I'm sorry I changed on you. When you proposed to me, you sang the song, Billy Joel, I Love You Just the Way You Are. I am the way just I am at every now. It's just, I was not the person you met when you met me. But anyhow, so I understand you not understanding. So whatever, I finally passed the stones, and as I was recovering at home, I thought it kept bothering me. Okay, for these unexplainables, they keep bothering me until it gets checked off. So when I went back to the school where I worked at, my coworker, the lady and I that job share, we use the same desk, but then she works 2.5 days and I work 2.5 days, or 3 and 2, whatever. And so I talked to her about my experience, like, Ramona, I'm like, it's still not checked off. And Fortunately, she was a person that believed in these weird stuff, because she said that when she was drowning, when she lived in Michigan, I think, she actually, as a child, had angels bring her back up to the surface. So she has her own experience. And then, so then she said, well, you know, one of the teachers is named Ramona, and I know all the teachers as their last names. So when I'm like, oh my gosh, she's right next door to my daughter's class. So of course I know her. So when she came into the office to check for her mail, I told her my usual thing, that I've condensed it. I don't know what's going on. I don't know how this works, but sometimes I know things, and for some reason I'm hearing your name, and I just said it that way. And she grabs my arm and she looks at our boss's office and goes like, don't talk about it here. Let's meet at the soccer field during lunch. So we did, and we walked and talked around the soccer field. And she was actually going through a really hard time, and her mother had passed a little while ago, and that was her best friend, where they talked about everything and anything. And she had been praying to see a sign from her mom, that so she didn't feel all alone. Now, personally, from my experiences, I believe that our loved ones are always there. It's just maybe we're not prepared to see them, because I don't know. I didn't grow up with this either, or certain religions don't allow it. So it's just blocked from you. So sometimes it's like you have to go through another person. And just so you know, I don't get paid for any of these unexplainables that happen. When they happen, it just happens. And so she was so happy. She was crying. She's like, okay, now I can go through my stuff that I'm going through, knowing my mom is with me, and thank you for, passing along the answer to my prayers. So I was so happy, but it was not being checked off from my point of view. And this is the example where I learned that the unexplainable can multitask, can incorporate many miracles within one. And so, and I don't know if miracles is a religious word. I'm not, saying, go one certain religion. I'm just like, it just comes to me when it comes to me. Whatever it is. I just call it loving kindness, as in the thing, whatever. A rose by any other name is still a rose, yes. Is still a rose and smells as sweet. Okay, I digress. So then at home, this has been bothering me, because this was the first unexplainable that did not get checked off. So my dear sweet husband, thank you so much for listening to me, because I know this is not your thing. And you listen. I said, I really need to talk to you. And there we sat in the little alcove off of our master bedroom. And oh my gosh, you listened to me. And I said, and then I finished, I'm saying, but it's not finished. There's more to this Ramona, happy, unexplainable happening. And then there he was. He was explaining to me that the coincidence of this very unique name to come to my mind, while at the same time a woman named Ramona is praying for her dead mother to show her a sign, that the coincidences of those two things happening, and that we both work at the same place, are just astronomical. And that, it most definitely satisfies the unexplainable prompting in my little, light worker task to do. And that's when I realized, sorry, I get emotional, because that's when I saw you. I saw you believing in this. And unfortunately, I said it out loud, and I didn't mean to force you back into the familiar way that society allows us to be, And I said, oh my gosh, you believe in this. You believe in spirits, and you believe in everything. And I might have even been pointing at you. I'm sorry. And then, boom, you went back to your normal way of being, and, socially acceptable way of being and thinking. And then you left. So to me, I count that as another part of this miracle. Then the next day at work, my boss walks by me and goes, "Isn't that amazing that your cousin called our school of all schools?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah." And I just pretended I knew what the heck she was talking about. I had no idea what my boss was talking about. But then I called my cousin, um, and she must have mentioned Salt Lake City cousin, but that would probably have been the only cousin, anyhow. Whatever. She and I had been estranged for years. When I was pregnant with my oldest, I spoke up about some family things, and I needed to protect my baby. And then when she was my child was 1 years old, I had to temporarily remove myself from my family because of certain happenings. I love all of you in my family, and you all did what served your highest good. So I get it. It's just we were estranged, and I pretty much lost everybody because I spoke up about stuff. But my cousin Susan talked about. She's still connected with me, and I call her my sister, my summer sister, because during the summers we would go to our European family, and in Europe, and so it's still sweet. She acknowledged my other daughter's birth. Most of the family did not. She still honored their birthdays and Christmas for them as well, and for myself. And so at least twice a year, we still connected. Actually, more, because I also did that, whom I call my nieces, because I love them, and they are my summer sister's children. So they're nieces. They're not like second cousin, blah, blah, blah. So anyhow, so I called her, and she immediately says, "I thought you were going to call me. I figured you were going to call me." So we ended up just saying, that she was was in the middle of writing a book, and oh gosh, I wonder if I could find that book. But she was in the middle of writing a book, and part of the process was to have different schools around the country edit it, and our school was one of the schools chosen where I worked. And so she was just doing random conference calls with principals all over the nation. So when our principal described our school, she says, "Wow, that sounds like where my cousin and my nieces go." And anyhow, that's how it got started. So then we spent like an hour or two just catching up, and it was just us being us again. And it always is when we're talking. It's sorry, this fruit fly. And then so it always is. And then at the very end, I'm like, "Well, wait a minute. What is your book about?" It's about a woman named Ramona who goes to the hospital. So yeah, then the unexplainable checked off. I know it's a long one, but that's the other part of the miracle. It reunited my cousin and I. So I love you. JW, feel better. Mwah.